All right. Let's just go ahead and get this party started so that everybody can be surprised about stuff that's come out, because there's been a lot of information come out. So.
Oh, I don't know any of it.
Yeah, I know you don't. I'm going to tell you.
Okay, good.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back. It's another episode of Server Restart In, a weekly World of Warcraft podcast hosted by three opinionated players.
No.
If I can speak.
Onions.
No.
Onionated players who like to get together to discuss their thoughts about the current state of the game. My name is Jim, joined by Kristen.
Hello.
And Brian.
Hello.
And this week, we will be probably randomly interrupted by Kristen. She's currently leveling a Death Knight in Classic as to obtain the...
She's playing WoW? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need the mount, so...
Yeah, to get the Frostbrood Proto-Drake mount before that goes away.
Yeah.
So
I'm playing.
One thing, I guess we'll just kind of get started on this is, as Brian so haphazardly stumbled into right before hitting the big red button, there was a trailer released today, called Legacies, and it's animated shorts. And it is a trailer for the upcoming like animated short. It's kind of like the things they did in Shadowlands for each Covenant faction. It's that kind of art style, but it's narrated by Nozdormu, and it's going to be going into different past events in the history. So it's like they show some clips of like Galakrond, of Deathwing coming up out of the Maelstrom. You know, just different like scenes, like the Dragthyr getting frozen because, like, you know, that's how they wake up from stages. Kind of like the Demon Hunters, actually, because that's what happened to them too. Is, you know, it's like, I guess that's really the only introductory for new hero classes. You know, so
wake up! It's your turn.
Yeah. So they just got them all there. So it's a trailer. The first one's going to come out on October 25th. Which is Tuesday, which is when Season 4 ends and the pre-patch drops. And we'll get into that. There's a whole timeline for this stuff. So it's a pretty neat looking animated short. You know, it's like I said, it's like the what were they called? They weren't called
Afterlives.
Afterlives were the one. What were they called in BFA? They had a different name, right? Because it was the ones about Jaina and Sylvanas and all that stuff. I forget what they were called. So, you know, they had their own title for those. And this one is, they were War something. It wasn't Warfronts or Warbringers. It was something like that, though.
Warbringers.
Was it Warbringers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we went from Warbringers to Afterlives, now Legacies. And obviously it's going to be like kind of like historical things. So that it's a pretty neat trailer. It's worth watching. It's worth looking at, you know, just to kind of get an idea of, you know, what to expect. Because I'm sure it's all clips from all the ones that are coming out. I'm not sure how many of them there are going to be.
5.
Oh, is there? Okay. There's gonna be 5 of them.
I don't know. Isn't there 5 aspects?
There's only 4.
Or is there 6? There's 4.
Red, green, blue, bronze,
black.
Okay.
Earth.
But technically, well, that aspect's dead. There isn't, and technically, they keep calling them aspects, but they've been depowered. So are they really aspects anymore? You know, because like they were meant to embody the.
I mean, from their aspect, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It could just be a title now, but Like, so that's coming out. And so kind of on the heels of that, I figured we would talk about, they released a couple days ago an image for the launch roadmap. So this pre-patch event isn't going to be like the others. There's going to be 2 phases. You're going to have one on October, which is, phase 1. October 25th is Tuesday. It's going to be phase 1. And then November 15th, a couple weeks later, will be the second phase. So the first phase is going to introduce all of the expansion changes, the talent systems, the HUD, a bunch of accessibility features, that kind of stuff. Class and race combinations that are coming out. Phase 2 will be when Drakthir evokers will be go live. That's when the new zone becomes available, which is the Drakthir starting area, the Forbidden Reach. That's when the new dungeon becomes available, which is Uldaman Legacy of Tyr. And then that's when the in-game events start, which are the Primal Storms. And we'll touch on all this stuff because they got a bunch of pretty good posts out there about that. So obviously, one of the first main things that's going to happen in the pre-patch, the pre-patch, the first part is the new talent system change. So we know that at 60, we're going to have so many points. You'll be able to get to the bottom row with at least 1 point, one of them, depending on what you kind of go into. And there's all kinds of weird builds out there and stuff like that that seem really interesting. I actually was watching a couple videos on like Frost and Blood DKs. Blood DKs apparently seems stupid good in the Mythic Plus scene, so that's might be an interesting thing. But some of the features that they highlight for the talent change, you can change your talents anywhere for free. So you no longer have to be in a rested area or use tomes. So no more tomes, no more being in a rested area. The only requirement is you cannot be in combat, be in a Mythic Plus run, or active PvP. So even in raid, you can swap.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
That's a nice quality of life change.
Exactly, because especially with the fact that you have loadouts, right? Which is something that they highlight with this thing. You can save and switch between multiple talent builds with ease because it's a loadout. You can import them from outside sources. So you could go to your Discord for your druids or your sites. If you do Icy Veins, if you do Raider.io, any place where people can theory craft and all that stuff, people can build it, post the strings, and you can import them. You can export your loadouts if you want to share them with friends or online communities. If you want to send it from one character to another, and you don't want to go through and click everything, you can have your own. And then there's saved action bars. So by default, each loadout has its own set of action bars that are saved. You can set specific loadouts to share action bars, which is a feature you can do. So like if there's not, I don't know if it's individual action bars, if you have to pick which bars are shared or not. That kind of remains to be seen, but it's a pretty flexible system, I think, for just being able to have different builds if you want to try them out. And I know Kristen knows from experience that she used to have tomes all the time because certain...
Oh, I used to change every other boss.
Yeah. When we were doing, was it BFA stuff?
Yeah. Even Legion, too.
Yeah. So it's going to make that a lot easier and less punishing. It is less downtime. There's, way more flexibility because just the way you can spend the points is you can make hyper specific builds. You can make general builds and all that stuff. There is also a starter build available, which is a preset talent build for players who don't want to mess around with it. And, you know, it's supposed to be like a decent build that's suitable for most content. So if you don't have any idea what to do, you can start with that and maybe tweak things around. You know, that's a, I think that's a pretty good thing, especially for people coming in that are not as experienced with the game, newer players, people that never really had talent trees to begin with, people who don't like to min-max, people that maybe want to get away from just doing the flavor of the week cookie cutter stuff. Because, you know, it just kind of gives you, well, I mean, I guess it gives you a cookie cutter build, but, you know, it's a generic build. So there is going to be a search bar. So you can look for specific talents, keywords, or even related talents to look for synergies. So the example they give is, like, if you search for title waves, like this is a shaman, it'll highlight Riptide, Healing Wave, and Healing Surge, since they're all mentioned in it. So you can see what skills kind of relate to other skills without having to mouse over each tooltip and look at that kind of stuff. There's also a preset search to help find abilities that aren't on your action bars. So if you forget to drag something down, you know, it'll say, hey, this isn't on your bar, kind of thing, which is pretty good. And another thing that I think we had talked about too is if you undo a talent higher up, it unlearns everything below it, which makes it a pain in the ass, right? However, they've added in what they call an unlearned talent history. So if you unlearn a talent towards the top of the tree, it may automatically unlearn a lot of stuff below it. So, say to make it easier to reconstruct your build, these unlearned talents are clearly marked, and you can mass relearn them by using a shift click. So cool. It's kind of like not an undo, but like you can change something higher up and then relearn from a certain point down, which is good, especially when you're kind of moving stuff around and, you know, changing things and whatnot. So I'm interested to get in to take a look at this stuff. Obviously, not everything's going to be available because Blizzard likes to take stuff away because they're jerks. Another thing that's going to be going live with the new thing is the Mage, Priest, and Rogue classes will be available to all races now. So you'll be able to have a Tauren Rogue, you know, sneaking around on your hooves.
What couldn't be a priest?
No, undead can. That's a good question. Trolls? Were there troll priests? No. Were there?
Yeah.
Could orcs
could be priests? Orcs could be priests?
I don't think they can.
Oh, well, Maghar could.
That might be different.
Maybe not regular orc.
Yeah. So they're...
And Taurens could already.
Yeah, Taurens could be priests, but they couldn't be mages. So you can be a Tauren mage now, or they couldn't be rogues. So that's, I guess...
Oh, they didn't do warlocks though, right?
Who didn't do warlocks?
So it's not all cloth wearers? Or
well,
everything?
no, because rogues are leather. It's just mage, priest, and rogues are the ones they're opening up. Which is potentially...
Stupid.
Yes, it's potentially stupid. It's just...
They should have added warlocks too. I'm sorry. At this point, they should add warlocks.
Well...
Why not? And they have utility. A pretty big utility, right? Well, I guess mages do too. I don't know
either, but it's a potential step in the right direction to removing all race class restrictions other than Evoker, I guess, and Demon Hunters. You know, eventually maybe those will.
No, Evoker's the one that doesn't have a tank, right? At all. They only have 2 specs.
Yeah, that's the Drakthir one. That's the new one that's coming out.
Tank and healer and
DPS. Yeah, DPS. It's a mid-range DPS.
And then, and they can't be anything else. That's all they can be, right?
Correct.
That's fucking stupid too.
Well, I mean, I really want them to put in a heal spec for Death Knights. Make Unholy's like make Unholy be like a spread disease that leeches health and spreads and steals health, that you can like make it more like Necromancer, and you can like steal health and then like almost like health funnel, but take it and build up charges that you can use to then spread to other things. Almost like a anti-disc priest, right? Like disc priests do damage that does splash heal kind of stuff, and they don't really do a lot of direct heals, but I'd say make Unholy so they can sap strength and stuff like that, and sap vitality from the enemies, and build up a thing to do as a like utility heal, not like a main heal, but like or you can like
okay, yeah.
I mean, they're making it so that Healing Rain, you'll have a talent called Acid Rain, so then it becomes an AoE heal and damage spell.
Oh, that's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they giving everybody else? Oh, wait, that's right.
Shaman.
They are. Yeah. Interrupts. Interrupts.
Yeah, everybody's going to have the ability to do that. But like, I think you could do the same thing with Death and Decay. You know, have it be like, instead of like, have it called Death and Decay, or what's the other? Pestilence, I think. No. I can't think of the other one, like the black smoky puddle they put down, but make it like a trans.
Oh, yeah. It's the Lich King thing.
Defile. Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, have something like that, but be like a transference ring type thing, which saps the enemy but heals the, your allies kind of thing, which would be a neat thing.
Why don't we just get to the point where we don't need healers specifically anymore?
Because I like healing. And I think probably
imagine being like an old shadow priest instead, though.
I mean, that would be cool, but I don't think they're ever gonna. They took all that. They took that away specifically from shadow priests. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's too much of the tank heal DPS ingrained in the game. I don't think that they could ever remove that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like it's just there. It's too much in it.
The problem
it would be cool because they've gone a long way in bringing the tank closer to the DPS role. It's odd that they haven't done that with a healer as much.
Yeah, it's definitely not as much. Like, you have certain, like, I don't know how much damage disc does, but I know that, like, when I was running Resto Shaman, I spent a decent amount of time DPSing as well. And again, it also depends on the group you're with and how well they're avoiding damage and stuff like that. So the less time you have to heal, the more time you can DPS. I don't know if I don't think Holy Priests would benefit from it because they need the mana for the heals. I don't think they could be casting damage spells so much. And I don't think, I know Resto Druid, you kind of can pop around and do some stuff, but
still takes mana to pop around.
So, I mean,
I think that for a healer, they should make your DPS spells not cost anything.
That would be.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, because
even if they did
it's true because you really shouldn't be trying to think about both sides of the paradigm and managing your mana at that point. That's a really damn good point.
Yeah. I mean, we used to make your I don't remember what expansion it was, but I think all healers had it, but I am just most familiar with druids. Our Wrath did splash heals. So when we cast Wrath, people in melee essentially got splash heals every time we did damage. Now they've made disc the damage healer, so I don't know that they're ever going to go back to that, but I wish they would.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to have that utility.
The problem I have with doing stuff like that with druids right now is that we are required to switch out of form to do that. Right? So if I want to cast a heal, and this is the problem I had with specializations. If I was a healer and I took Boomkin Spec as a specialization, I still had to flip back and forth between forms, and that still took a global cooldown. And that was very frustrating to me. I feel like if I took Boomkin as a specialization, that I shouldn't have had to flip back and forth from forms.
I think what they should do with druids is if you cast a spell that belongs to a different form, it should, if you're not in that form, it should cost a little bit extra mana and automatically change you into that form. Right?
I mean, it does kind of do that. You can do that.
Well, no, it drops you into your regular form, right? It doesn't, like, you don't go from tree form to Boomkin form unless you actually change that, right? Or does it?
No, I can go from tree form to Boomkin form
without hitting the form spell?
I hit the form.
But what I'm saying is, it's like cast Star Surge, and it automatically.
It won't let me cast Star Surge without being in
I understand, but what I'm saying is
automatically move you into those
if
forms.
you're not in that form, instead of it being 55 mana, it's like 65 mana or something, whatever. Just a little bit extra automatically changes you into that form, and then the cooldown is part of that, so it doesn't have an extra cooldown. And then when you go back into healing, it pops you back, kind of thing. Like, maybe have that. I mean, obviously, as a druid, you might get sick of just changing forms all the time if you're bouncing around. But but that might be an interesting.
I mean, well, in the transmog world, though, I imagine that Kristen, of all people, probably wants to be whatever she wants to be and be able to do those things, right? Do you like the different druid?
No, I like the different druid forms, especially since I can pick whatever form I want. Like, so when I pop into my bear form, I can be steroid bear, and I like that. And I like when I go into cat form, I can be my glowy cat. And so with the
like you could be in cat form but still heal at the same potency.
No, I can't do that now.
No. I'm saying, like,
if you could
would you
do
want
that?
Yeah. Or is that too far?
No, I don't think I would want that. I think that,
I mean, that'd be hilarious. So
it would be hilarious.
Cat healing everybody.
But we can do that with, like, judicious use of shape-shifting abilities, like
copy appearances.
Yeah, like one of our healers in raid almost always copies my glowy kitty form, and she's a holy priest, and so she runs around healing people as a glowy kitty. So I mean, but yeah, that to me, I don't care too much about.
So
I mean, it'd be cool if people wanted to do it. That's fine. Like, I have no problem with people doing it, but just I don't need to do it.
I think you touched on something there, Brian, and I think that maybe instead of it automatically shifting you to that form, you could have it so that if you're not in that form, and it's like if you try to cast a wrath or a specific Boomkin form and you're in your healing form, its effectiveness is slightly reduced, so it's not as potent. So you don't get that benefit. But if you have the time and you want to do more damage, you could change the Boomkin form, do a bunch of stuff, switch back, kind of thing.
I mean, I do that as it is anyway. Like, I can cast Wrath in my normal form. And if I don't think I'm going to have enough time to pop in and out of between GCDs to heal, that's what I do, is I just
Right, but but this will give you, like, you can't cast Star Surge, right?
No.
Or Starfall or whatever the AoE thing is. But if you had the ability to cast it in a different form, but it was like 10% less effective, that would give you the ability to, in tree form, cast it,
right,
let it do some damage,
right,
rather than waste the global cooldown. And that's a decision you have to make based on the encounter and based on what time you have.
Yeah.
You know, do I want to switch to get max
it really
damage?
takes a whole global cooldown just to switch forms?
Yeah, it sucks. It's dumb. It's annoying.
Do they do that to block people from being able to switch really quick and do certain stuff like that?
I think it was a power shifting thing for PvP.
Yeah.
Because we used to not have a cooldown on shifting. And then now we do. Was like years ago that they changed it.
Because of the capture the flag stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You could just
spam shape shift.
Because it removes all snares and entangles and stuff like that. So you just in and out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I think having the ability to cast spec specific spells at a reduced potency, I think wouldn't be too bad.
That was my whole problem with affinities.
It should have done that instead of forcing you to change. Have to change. Like if you went,
affinities were just shitty.
Yeah, if you went Boomkin Infinity as Resto, you should have been able to have a select certain number of spells that you could cast as a freaking tree.
Yeah.
And, whether or not they're at full potential for damage or not, it should just be that way. I mean, druids are versatile creatures. They should be able to.
You would think.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And speaking of versatility, one of the new things coming out with the patch, nice segue, thank you, is the customizable interface is going to be out on the 25th.
With a snap grid.
Yep, they added a snap grid. Hopefully they added something for loot, because I don't remember if the loot thing was available, and I hate the default position for the loot thing, and I don't want loot at mouse. I want to be able to move my loot window.
Wait, they don't.
Mouse is like the most annoying thing in the world.
You can't move your.
When I initially did it, you couldn't, but they were still adding things. There were a few things that you couldn't move, and I think that they have since added. I think I'd have to go in and look. But, I mean, otherwise you could just use a different add-on to move that specific thing, but it was, I didn't like where it was and all that other stuff. So, but that's coming. That's going to be fun to play with. Probably turn off my main UI add-on and kind of figure things out with that. There's going to be some new achievements, mainly around collections. Will be the new mount collection. Thanks for the carry. 500 mounts gives you the Otterworldly Audic Carrier, which is the otter mount from the Tuskar, but it looks like a soul shape. So, like the Night Fae Covenant, like your soul shape was kind of like almost like a celestial type look thing. It's gonna be that, but the otter mount. And they're adding 4 more different pet collection achievements. So it'll be 1,250 unique pets, 1,500 unique pets, 1,750 unique pets, and then 2,000 unique pets. And it's 3 different pets. You got a crystal mini monster, a secretive frog duck, a violet violence, and then Mr. Muxoxyles, which is probably gonna, I don't know. It's either going to be a muskox, because it sounds like a Mr. Mistopheles reference.
Right.
From Cats. But it's probably going to be a little baby muskox. So, another thing coming in is stuff that we had kind of talked about, which is the ability of up to 5 players of any faction can tag an enemy to earn quest credit and drops before it was faction specific. War mode's not going to have that, which fine. They're fixing the Voodoo Shuffle troll racial to reduce the duration of routes by less than, or it was bugged and it wasn't doing the right thing, so they're fixing that. The Resurrection Sickness changes are coming in.
Oh, what's that?
So we talked about it briefly, but you probably forgot. So before you would get, if you rezzed at a spirit healer, 10-minute debuff,
Yeah.
25% durability loss.
Uh-huh.
Now, the resurrection sickness will only be 1 minute.
That's good.
If you're below level 10, you will only suffer 10% durability loss. If you're over, it'll be 50%. So you'll take more damage to your gear. Well, you're also getting a reduction of the sickness.
How is
from 10 minutes to 1 minute.
Well,
so.
sure, but is it that's
I don't know. They came up with those numbers. I don't know. I mean, how many times do you res as a spirit healer?
I mean, I don't.
Exactly.
But
so it doesn't really impact most people because most people will just do a corpse run. Yeah. I mean, it's not like other games where you had to go do a corpse run to actually get your loot and recover experience or something like that. I mean, it's not as punishing to do a corpse run or to not do a corpse run. And the only time you ever really do a spirit heal res is if you're just like, I'm fucking done with this. You know,
right.
It's not a common occurrence. There's going to be a new toy.
A new toy that's going to be on an hour cooldown?
Nope, it's a 5-minute cooldown.
Oh, okay.
It's called Seed of Renewed Souls, and it will transform you into your soul shape. So I don't know what, if you don't have a soul shape, what that will do. But you get it from Heart of the Forest, so I'm pretty sure that that's Ardenweald where you get it. Talked about the legacy changes or the set bonus changes. We talked about that last week. Upgrade stones for pets are now going to be able to use directly in the pet journal instead of having to summon the pet and apply it. A bunch of PvP stuff that I'm not too worried about. There was a bunch of user interface stuff and accessibility things that were changed that I liked. Obviously, they're giving you the option to have either combine all your bags into a single bag.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, that we've had stuff like that for a long time with mods. Whatever, login screens have been updated. We know that. Barbershop services will be free.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I don't know. I thought they were.
No.
But apparently I'm wrong.
You were wrong. It's okay, though.
There will be...
you don't barbershop that much.
I hardly ever.
Yes.
I don't know if I think I did it just to get the
shaving a haircut.
Yeah. It says icon selection for macros, equipment sets, and guild banks will now support drag and drop from certain sources, such as items, spells, mounts, battle pets, and macros. Meaning that instead of using the show tooltip in your macros or setting up your icons on the bank and giving you that whole big list of things to scroll from, if you know where it is, you can drag and drop it onto there and it will copy the icon.
Oh, that's good.
That's cool.
That's fucking leaps and bounds.
They should still have a search function because it's really hard to find some good shit in there.
Yeah. I mean, and not only that though, I mean, is it going to show the whole tooltip? Like,
no.
This is going to show the icon. So you still are going to have to use show tooltip. Right? Because that's what gives you the actual tooltip, not just the icon.
Oh, well, probably, yeah.
Right, yeah. If you want to use it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But because show
you only
tooltip,
get the title of a macro. We don't have anything. Like if you need to pass through with the tooltip, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Show
tooltip.
Macro
Macro something that you pass it through.
Yeah, I for some reason I thought show tooltip was just for the icon.
No.
But you're right. It's in the fucking name. It allows you to show the tooltip. It just inherits the icon.
Yeah.
But But yeah, no, it just says it's supporting this. It's not replacing existing stuff. So I thought that was pretty neat. There'll be a new mouse over cursor for NPCs with campaign quests. I don't know what that's going to look like. The action bar art, they're adding the wyvern icons for Horde if you want. Implemented additional gamepad support. Now, I think that's important and that's telling.
Oh, for like Microsoft?
I think that because Microsoft and Activision have a deal already for some of those games being on the Battle Pass, I think that this is helping to usher World of Warcraft to have console support. And
not to mention that it could be like Microsoft is really big for accessibility gaming now too, like, and they have been for years.
Right, and this falls under
having controller support. It should enable that many more people.
Right. So the option menu has changed a lot. I think we touched on that briefly. It's going to have a search bar. So if you want to try and find a certain option, you can just search for it instead of clicking on everything to try and remember where the hell it's at, which is nice. They added tooltips to some. They moved some stuff around from the raid profile to different parts of the interface where it should have been, and some of the stuff's in the edit mode thing. You can now right-click on a key to unbind it. So if you're in binding mode, instead of having to hit the button to clear it, I think you have to click on it and hit delete or something like that. You can just right-click on that thing and it'll unbind it. So it's a little bit more functionality. I think that's good. There's going to be an interact key that you can enable, which will allow you to interact with NPCs and objects with a key press instead of your mouse. So if you play any like first-person games or like Phasmophobia or whatever, where you use E or F to walk up to an object to interact with it, the default key will be F. You walk up, you hit F, and it's like clicking on it.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
So they're getting into like modern gaming style stuff now, to where it's, you know, getting more like action oriented and stuff like that, which is good, because especially for the fact that, you know, everybody stands on a fucking NPC or a quest giver and you can't fucking click on it. Although they did change a lot of that stuff. So like if your view is blocked of a quest giver, now the person in front of you, like around the outline, becomes transparent, so you can still see the person, the quest giver, which is something I saw in the beta, which I thought was pretty fucking neat. So you can still see them, and it's like almost like a clear window through whatever's in front of them, kind of thing. But the interact key is pretty nice too, because now it's just boom, you hit a button, you get within range, hit a button, you're done, you go, you get to go on. Press and hold casting. So if you want to continually cast a spell over and over and over again, instead of hitting the hotkey once, you can push and hold and it'll just keep casting.
That's kind of cool.
That's interesting.
It only works for keyboard hotkeys. Clicking on the button on the action bar doesn't work that way. And it doesn't work with macros or items. So it's only spells. Yeah, it's kind of, it's a start, right?
It doesn't work with, so if I have Wrath macroed as like a mouse over macro for my target, right? Like I do. And I have it, and it's on my number 1 button, and I hit that on my mouse, and I just keep holding it down. It's not going to work.
I don't think so, because I think it probably has to do with the way macros are interpreted by the game client. I don't know, but it is, I don't know, it's a step in a new direction for combat and controls. So they're making new changes to like standard systems that haven't fucking changed in, you know, a decade and a half. You know, it's always been click or press, always. You know, and stuff like that. The interaction stuff is always your fucking mouse click. So I mean, it's progress forward to stuff that most people take for granted. You know, and it's not necessarily something that people are going to see maybe a lot of inherent value in right away, because it completely will change your play style. You know, it's not going to be just, you know, it's different, you know, so, and maybe it's because they don't want macros, because if you do like the chain macros and stuff like that, maybe it has a hard time interpreting multiple spells. I don't know. They're adding a new targeting system called action targeting.
Oh no.
It'll
doesn't sound good.
It'll automatically
action targeting.
Target enemies as you approach them, so you don't have to click on them, so you can start casting your abilities immediately. It switches targets based on where you're looking. So if you are a class that has to have, the target in front of you to do anything to them, that might be useful. It's probably more for action melee type things. If you're used to doing mouse over stuff and casting behind you like heals, it's probably not necessarily a good thing.
No.
It works alongside the standard targeting system. If you need to lock onto a target, you just press the tab key to enter into tab target combat so you can get out of it. It's not turned on by default. You have to turn it on, so it's not like you're forced to use it. So it's just a new option, which is another thing that I think is leading towards a console deployment of this game, because that would be a very useful setting for consoles when you're moving around you're basically controlling your character. Instead of having to click on a target or have to tab target and hopefully get to it, you just face the target. And
you have to give them credit. Their tab targeting is tremendously good.
It is.
It's better than some games. I will give it that.
It depends, because I have been doing some leveling, and if you have something way off in the distance, that's still it'll switch to that. I'm like, no, there's two things right in fucking front of me.
Yeah.
So it's good and bad. It just depends on the situation, what's around, and all that kind of stuff.
It is better than some games, though. I will say straight up, it is way better than Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy's tab targeting is shit.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I don't think I've ever heard her say anything bad about that game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like to think I have a balanced...
That recording out of context, Jim.
I like to think that I have a balanced, nuanced... Yeah.
I know.
I know.
It's just funny. And then there's a display name size adjustment. So now you can set a minimum text size to keep in-world names legible, enabling the option to make names fade with distance instead of shrinking, so that as the farther you get, the more, I guess, transparent the name becomes, so as not to block your view. So that seems like it'll be interesting. I kind of like that. I guess it really depends on how much shit's around.
I guess I'm just thinking about, do you remember last X-Pack when we were doing Mythic Pluses, the one where we had to go through the jail? We went through the outside, that was horrible. It was so bad.
It was in Borealis, and it was the jail that you go rescue the people out of, and you fight the dude with the cannons at the top. Yeah, anything, or like even if you're doing what's the one that's on Sunstrider Isle that was in the Time Walking?
Oh, Magister's Terrace. That one's a terrible one too.
Like when you first walk in, there's just all the mobs below, and tab targeting is to be a pain in the ass. And like if you have nameplates on, they all fucking show up.
Yes,
they show up through the floor. Like it does. The floor should fucking block things below.
Yeah,
you shouldn't see those nameplates. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's terrible.
But I don't know what this will do for that. But, I'm interesting to see. So that's pretty much it for the Phase 1 stuff that's coming out. There's, other than the PvP stuff, which, again, sorry, not that interested in it. I don't really do that much,
I don't care about PvP.
It's something that
when does the dungeon come out? Is that the
part of Phase 2, November 15th? That will be when the Drakthir become available, which we talked about. There's not that much information on this one. That's when the new Drakthir starting zone comes in. The new dungeon, Uldaman, Legacy of Tyr. So it's in Badlands. Players venture into Uldaman to lay claim to a legacy of knowledge left behind by the Titans. This is an ancient Titan facility where the allies of Tyr hid the discs of Nordanon. So we're going to be so I saw some video posted somewhere that said something like the title had something to do with like the Titans or the bad guys now. And there's like some in-game book lore coming out about something to do with Odin and his...
I did see that. Apparently there's a lot of lore guts coming out with that.
Well, having to do with how like the Black Kingdom and the N'Zoth and all that stuff. Because N'Zoth really architected a lot of the shit, made Odin, give away his eye, and made him suspicious of Helia and all that stuff, which is why she got locked away, which is why he took Valheim, whatever the fucking warrior place is in the class order hall. Made him take that
Skyhold,
yeah. Which is why Skyhold is
I
where...
was waiting for you to say it since you're like a warrior main.
Like, oh shit.
This is your time to shine, Brian.
But which is part of the reason why he separated it from Valheim, I think, or whatever. Like, there's all this kind of lore in there. If you talk to him and be like,
because he's a dumbass, just sum it up.
Yeah,
because he's a dumbass.
But so there's a lot of that stuff coming out. So the keepers or the Titans, there might be some issues with them in this. I don't know. And then the in game, the Primal Storm stuff is going to start. Those are the different events. They're going to be static events that happen in certain zones. There'll be 4 of them. Earth invasions will happen in Northern Barrens. Fire invasions will happen in Tirisfal Glades. Storm invasions, Ungoro Crater. Water invasions in Badlands. So basically, during the event, which I think is the whole time, I can't, it doesn't really say, but there'll be primalist mobs out in the areas marked on the minimap. Every 30 minutes or so, there's the mini event where the Elemental Lord will spawn.
The Elemental Lord.
An Elemental Lord, not the Elemental
The
Lord.
Elemental Lord.
When your powers combine, I am Captain Planet. No.
Lordy.
So, and when they spawn, nearby mobs become imbued, and they become just imbued mobs, and then they drop primeval essences, which is currency. Once you kill 100 of them, the shield drops from the boss, and then you can kill them for loot and more essences. So, the essences are the currency. You can use it to buy a toy called the Bag of Furious Winds. It's 100 essences. Let's see, it looks like
6-hour cooldown.
It's a 30-minute cooldown.
6 hours, 30 minutes.
The toy summons a vacuum above your head, which sucks in critters for 10 seconds. So that's what the toy does. There's an heirloom trinket that you can get, and you have to get a rare drop from each one of the elemental lords and combine them. And it creates this trinket, an heirloom trinket that will gives its agility, strength, or intellect. It gives you a chance to do elemental damage. Just your spells have a chance to cause it. So you get just the dimmed primeval earth, fire, storm, or water from the things. Combine it, you get it. There will also be item 2 or eye level 252 ketchup gear and transmogs.
Ketchup? What about mustard?
No.
Ketchup.
The imbued mobs as well as the Lord have a chance to drop the gear. You can also buy the gear with the essences. It's a transmog or a different coloration of questing gear from Dragonflight. So, and it's a blue recolor of it. And it says a previously undiscovered hue, but I don't know what the hell that means. But it's okay, I guess. But I mean, I'll definitely farm all 4 sets.
Good.
Because
you can farm mine.
Well, you have 13 days to do it. Yeah. 2 weeks before the launch, because
that's not a lot of time when you're really
not a lot of time when you're you're in school.
But I think the mobs are up all the time, but the mini events happen about every half hour.
Well, that's great, but I don't.
Which means you jump on, you wait at most half an hour, you do it, and you jump off.
Which means you jump on.
No, because we don't do that here.
You can come over to my computer.
Whoa.
So that's coming out. That The plate looks pretty neat. It looks like a standard like knight thing.
It does look really cool, actually.
Does it look cool? Oh, I don't have any characters other than. Oh no, wait, I do. That's right.
We talked about
this the other day.
Yeah, you have plenty of characters.
Yeah. I think I have one.
Let's see.
No, I might not have a plate or a mail wearer.
No. Oh, you just got to level the shaman. Do you still have a boost? Okay. So obviously season 4 is ending on Tuesday, the 25th. So
hallelujah.
So they said what's going to be no longer available. The Shrouded Hero title will no longer be available. That's, I think, the people in the top 0.1% of Mythic Plus. You know, your score's got to be up there. Different titles for the PvP stuff is going to be gone. They say don't do race change, faction change, or character transfers until you get your rewards to avoid any issues.
Okay.
Yes. There are still things that you will still be able to do from season 4 until Dragonflight actually launches. So you'll still be able to work on Keystone Master and get the mount for that. So you'll still be able to do keys. You'll still be able to get the Keystone Hero achievement, which is when you time a 20 for Tyrannical and Fortified, which gives you a dungeon-specific teleport, which, whatever. You know, you can still increase your rating and do higher keystones. You can still get Valor points and upgrade your gear. And Great Vault progress can be accrued weekly. Kind of the same thing for PvP. You can still work on the mount stuff and all that stuff that's not going away until it launches. And then after the thing ends, all the raids will be faded permanently. So you won't have to worry about which one's faded. You can still work to get the Jigglesworth Senior mount. So you can get Jellycat mount along with the Hero of Fate and raid teleports for completing the faded raids on heroic and mythic difficulties respectively. So I guess if you do them all on mythic, you get a fucking raid teleport, which I guess the only thing that's good for is Mog farming later on down the line, I guess. The dinar quests for killing the faded bosses, you'll still be able to do those if you haven't. So you can, you get the 3 coins to buy specific items. A couple of things, the items that you use to upgrade those gear are still going to be available, and Great Vault progress. So, yeah. So that's kind of it. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that got dropped this week, and it's a couple of days out. 5 more days, and a lot of this stuff will be active, and we'll be able to start seeing just how big of a shit show things are going to be, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm excited. I didn't say anything about the crafting profession changes and all that stuff. I'm assuming that the UI is going to change.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah.
But I don't know if the work order system applies to older things, or if that's not going to be until it launches.
I was about to say, it probably doesn't make any sense that any of it would be in until the expansion.
I think the UI
out.
changes. I don't think that. I don't know. We'll have to find out. We'll find out together
on the next episode of
Server Restart.
Oh my god.
All right, that's a good ending point. Thanks everybody for listening. You can check us out at facebook.com/serverrestartin. Shoot us a tweet at server_restart, and we'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.